Good afternoon, everyone. How are we doing? Are we all caffeinated, ready for the afternoon? I'm Giorgio Zinetti. I'm the CTO at the Cardano Foundation, and I'm pleased to be joined today by some experts from enterprise and all working with blockchain. We have Eoin here with me from MasterCard. He's a director, franchise strategy and product. We have Raul, the CEO of Nuvola. We have Guillermo from Orange, head of innovation. And we have Ivan Branco from Volvo. He has a long title. He's GTO SML, head of innovation management, AI and analytics. So welcome to the panel. Maybe let's start with an easy question, or maybe perhaps a very difficult one. Why blockchain? What got you into it? Maybe we'll start with you, Eoin.
Okay, I suppose look, all views are my own because there will probably be some different views from some of my colleagues. It's a why not? It's inevitable. So MasterCard is a technology company that focuses on payments, and blockchain is a new technology with specialism in payments. The use cases, the capabilities, and the advantages are relatively self-apparent. And as a B2B business where we have to support clients in the ecosystem, the demand, the appetite, and the desire for this as an emerging technology is there. So I think we're past the pivot point. We've gone through crypto winter, we've had stablecoin summer, we have increased regulation, and it's just the adoption curve is happening now, so why not? Probably.
Cool. Raul?
Yeah, for me, it's, I think, just a natural evolution from the legacy traditional systems to a more efficient technology that's needed as we grow and advance. Almost like, we grew up on the traditional systems like a parent, and as children, we essentially are evolving from the lessons and things that they've taught us, their shortcomings, their failures, and that's essentially what blockchain is. It's an embodiment of evolution, innovation in the technical world. So for me, it's almost like a no-brainer, like what Eoin said as well.
Guillermo?
Yeah, to me, actually, this is a question I asked to the management in Orange, a big corporation. So why blockchain? And so the answer is not so easy. I would say it's a cultural movement. It's something more than only changing a layer from or replace something to something else. It's about integration and it's about add something to the existing layers that we have in big corporations and telcos above all. Because as you perhaps know, telcos are very centralized. So you have this trust built between the customers and the company. So it goes against the decentralization movement. So this is why I'm talking about cultural movement rather than only a technological change.
It's a little bit hard to come in the end, but I'll try to add my 2 cents. I think the question, let's take it like this. Would you ask the same question if you would twist it around and ask your management team or whomever, what do you think about trust? What do you think about security? What do you think about having a stable, solid platform that allows you to do your business in a better way? The answer would be a no-brainer. So why blockchain? Because we want to invest in all of those things, and this is a vehicle, a new vehicle, to allow us to reach those targets.
Maybe, Ivan, I stay with you. We all said, well, blockchain is a no-brainer, but we face a lot of questions and skepticism. Christmas is approaching, and I'm already thinking, how am I gonna rebut my uncle that he's strong on his Italian bonds and he believes in Web2 technology. What are the challenges that you have faced in the large organization that you work in, and what's the pushback? Blockchain is a no-brainer, but what's the pushback that you get?
Backstage, I was discussing with Guillaume. I think it's a question of language. I mean, I'm part of this event. I'm maybe not a specialist in blockchain as most people are. I found a lot of interesting, very intelligent people that know a lot about blockchain, but then you create a niche environment where these people know a lot about blockchain. But if I go to my management team, if I go to my business people, They don't understand exactly what it is. They will still make the correlation between blockchain and cryptocurrency, but they do not see all of the other possibilities that it offers. So like we discussed, I said one of the challenges that I would have for the Cardano Foundation is to go outside and educate people, but educate using common terms, not using such technical language, because you will lose a lot of the audience. They don't understand the concept. They don't understand the structure. I think that is one of the big challenges that we have in the future, to kind of spread blockchain as a valid standard for every business organization.
Guillermo, what's the pushback you get?
Yeah, the pushback is actually quite the same as Ivan. We were talking about that in the backstage. Let me give you some insight about Orange. It's a big corporation. We are in 23 countries, mostly in Europe. France is the first market, then Spain is the second one. I'm based myself in Madrid. Spain is like the lab of innovation, so it's quite interesting to work with them. And then we have Eastern Europe countries. We have French-speaking countries in Africa, which are in very high expansion. So we have 200 million customers around the world, 40 billions of turnover. So how do you move a company like that? You know, it's quite kind of difficult because it's a dinosaur. It's a big telco, very centralized. The trust is built between the top management, the decision, the network, of course, the layers that we have in the network, the fiber, the 5G, all these layers, you know, and the trust is into the connectivity, basically. So if you have a good connectivity, you trust the company, you trust your telco operator. I think it's the same with you guys, basically. So how do you change that with a blockchain? Okay, you say blockchain, you talk about digital assets, for example. Before it was non-fungible tokens. So you need to find a way, a prototype, and something, a topic which is interesting for the user, and which makes the life of the user more easier, I would say. So this is the pushback I have regarding the blockchain. So how do you move this big old company? And you have to convince people there, not replacing the existing, because sometimes they are afraid of the change. So they just think, okay, you are going to replace something existing, it's going to be very costly and not effective. So it's not about change, it's about integration. It's about a layer above existing layers, and to prove, you have to prove this cultural movement I was talking about before. So the proof is going to be prototypes, but I will come back later on something more specific.
Raul, want to add something on the pushback? You're maybe the smallest come from the startup side of things.
Yeah, I was actually about to say I'm usually pitching to enterprises like this, and the feedback we've received, I think there's a quote that really embodies it, that talks about the blockchain industry. Empires are not built where stones are thrown from, but rather where they land. And I think the blockchain industry has been damn near stoned to death with criticism, and somehow it's prevailed and been resilient. And it comes down to the trust, and even what Ivan said about the simplicity of what's being presented, right? And when you can really simplify what blockchain can do for an enterprise, it really comes down to two things: quality of life and financial benefit. Why would a company use a product if it's not already improving a service that they're providing to their customers? If you can't even meet that simple criteria and you can't explain it properly and show them why this route is better, the conversation ends there. But then the second that comes with it is the financial incentive. Yep. Am I making money from making this transition? How much money is it going to cost me to go from A to B? And when those two elements meet and they can be explained properly, it goes less from a mentality of, this tech is too complicated, I don't trust it, it's going to cost me a lot. And they stop throwing the stones at you, and you start to say, oh, wow, this can actually save me a lot of money in the long run. I was a quality engineer for almost 13 years, and root cause analysis was essentially what I did every day. And it always just came down to cost savings, right? You can live with a problem for only so long until it starts to be so counterproductive that you lose money everywhere else. And I think simplifying the solution and then showing why it's financially advantageous for them is essentially where you're able to overcome that criticism and that pushback.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I think it's an extension on that point. My background's in banking. 15 years ago, we were still doing general ledger migration. Stuff was built on COBOL. People were looking at data lakes and data warehouses. You had regulation coming in on GDPR and OCIR, and now you have DORA. And for the CTO functions, their roadmap is just absolutely packed. And then you have this new technology where everybody agrees with the incoming benefits, and it's trying to thread that needle into large-scale transformative change. And it will happen. It'll happen over time. We see some of the new challengers in the fintech space, the likes of sort of new payment firms, what have you, who don't have that legacy stack, who are able to use that to their advantage. But again, the industry has to catch up because the interoperability requires a certain level of uptake before it becomes ubiquitous. So the challenge is really sat at the feet of the CTOs. Sorry, CTOs.
I'm a CTO. So. No more questions for you. Actually, I'm going to grill you on something. I'm of the panelists here. From you're the one that is more prone to be disrupted, right? Because everybody's coming for you, right? For payment rails, stable coins. Maybe can you give me your thoughts around this, and maybe tell us a bit what is the internal conversation, right? Because you could be going toward your Kodak moment, right? Or can you tell us a little bit what's happening inside?
I think the old phase economists have predicted 9 out of the last 5 recessions. Yeah. There's always a challenge. Everything's there. And again, these are my own views, but the role of MasterCard is to empower ecosystems. And it creates that environment for all the participants through multilateral agreements to come in and move money and move liquidity. This is a new form of digital assets. It's a new form of money migration. It will become interoperable with all the other rails. We still have checks. We still have physical cards. We have virtual cards. We have wearable tech. This is another layer in a blended version of an ecosystem. And everything has to become interoperable because you have the network, you have the scale, you have the pre-existing relationships of all the actors in the ecosystem. And then you have a fairly well-defined UX for the end user. Boop, that's your payment done. So I personally see this more as symbiotic rather than displacement.
Absolutely. Is there any initiative specifically that you have observed in MasterCard to go in the stablecoin direction or payment rails? Or?
Yeah, so the role of MasterCard, like I say, it's a B2B business, and therefore we have to be aligned with what's happening in the industry and what's happening with all the participants in the ecosystem. So that means that there are multiple POCs responding to various needs and requirements coming out regionally, by market sector, by product type, by payment type, etc. The stablecoin summer, the Genius Act, the clarification on regulation, has meant that a number of those POCs are now coming to market, and therefore we're able to respond and support accordingly. And it's about being responsive, not trying to shape the market.
Maybe now we jump to Guilherme. Telco is, in some regions, is also the financial backbone. If you mention Africa, yes. Can you give us also a sneak peek what is being discussed within Innovation Lab and how blockchain is innovating or contributing?
Okay, so 2 things. The first thing is about an idea that Ivan developed before. The main challenge that we have regarding the blockchain is to find the purpose, not starting with the technology. Because if you start with proof of stake versus proof of work, you lose people, above all the management. So what we need is to start with the purpose. When it comes to the purpose, with blockchain, of course, the most efficient way to think about it is about the fact that it's traceability, it's faster, and it comes to transactions, So transaction, it's registered, so on the blockchain. So there is this proof of value. You have to prove the value of the blockchain versus traditional transactions. So I come to Africa now. There is this data. You have 43% of the people in Africa who are not with a bank account. according to the World Bank. And contrasting that, you have 83% of the people who have mobile phone. Yeah. So this gap is clearly an opportunity for Orange, because the transactions are done with the mobile phone today, with the credit cards and banks. But with the stablecoins, for example, it's something that we are exploring. We are not launching that for the moment, but it's something which can be very easier for the user in the end, to send money from Africa to Europe and at the reverse, from Europe to Africa. Of course, it comes with regulation aspect that we need to consider and to look for. But regarding for the user, what is very important is for the user in the end. It's going to be easier for them to make transactions from a continent to another one. This gap is clearly a proof of value, and this is something that we explore in our labs. And there is another topic that we are regarding, and something that we did, not only exploring, it's about the customer loyalty programs. It's an angle that we choose in Spain, is to transform the traditional customer loyalty program that you can have with gas station, for example. You fill your gas, you have some points, you accumulate points, and then you have rewards. Of course, you can do it with Web 2 traditional today, but with the Web 3, you can do it with digital assets. And digital assets, we used NFTs for that. We did a workshop, and the whole idea was to find a story to connect this digital asset with people. So in Orange, Spain, we promote a lot of events. For example, sports, we promote Real Madrid teams, we promote cinema, we promote many events, TV shows and shows, concerts and so on. So the whole idea was to ask to the user that we have in Spain, what do you like? Do you like Cine? Do you like Real Madrid? Do you like that? And then you give this digital assets regarding his tastes, and digital asset is like a key to another world. It's a key to something else. Let's say that you have this NFT built on the blockchain. Okay, this is your key. And regarding what you are going to do in terms of gamification, you know, a lot of companies doing that, such as Sora, for example. You have this card, and this card is going to give you some credit, and this credit are going to make you appear some rewards. This is something we did with Capgemini, for example, an agency. We did a workshop during 1 week with them, and we released this as a prototype. And this prototype was worked with people in digital marketing teams inside of Orange. It was done, basically.
Cool. Ivan, can you give us an insight? What are the discussion inside Volvo on the use of blockchain, maybe on the electrification and the digital product passports? What is being discussed?
Yeah, we can talk about that, but that's one, let's say, part of what we have been exploring. We've been exploring blockchain as a component to secure, let's say, our supply chain value, because we have multiple material suppliers, transport suppliers, we have the factories, etc. So to secure that we have a proper communication between these parties on every single component that we have as needed for the production of our vehicles, engines, whatever. Then, indeed, with new legislation coming in, digital product IDs, we want to make sure that we have and that we can capture all of that information. But we actually started that before it became, let's say, this new trend, because we also wanted to secure, for example, that our parts are in the right place. They're not being forged, they're not being negotiated in countries where they cannot be negotiated, so it really allows us to see the full life cycle of the product, understanding exactly where and when it is being used. We also did explorations actually on internal cryptocurrency for internal transactions in between these material suppliers, transport suppliers, and our own organization to simplify also that communication.
Was it a stable coin or was it...
It's internal. I don't even recall the name. It was just an exploration, investigation that we did.
This is not financial advice. Don't buy the Volvo token.
And basically, it has been through these explorations that we've tried to validate the true worth of blockchain within our environment. Going a little bit into what you said, Guillaume, we start normally with a business problem, and then we try to see the applicability of solutions. But here we also took another approach, or tried to take another approach, which is, in some cases, the technology can point a direction where you see opportunities. And I think in blockchain, that was kind of the reality. It came within a specific frame connected to cryptocurrency, and then we said, okay, there are other usage for this. Can we apply it for situations where we know we have poor data quality, we have compliance issues, we have security issues? And that's what we've been exploring within Volvo.
Maybe, Raul, you are a Web3 native company. A couple of questions. One, can you explain the audience what exactly you do? And second, how are you integrating the legacy into your blockchain business, the other way around?
Yeah, absolutely. So at Nuvola, we're essentially in the cloud storage and compute industry. We're about to launch our partner chain, which essentially provides the backend storage to our Web2 applications called Nuvola Drive. In many ways, it's a direct competitor to Google. That is a very bold statement, but it's the reality of it, right? And what we've seen essentially with AWS going down is how dependent the entire world is on 2 or 3 names. And that dependency creates a lot of issues when unforeseen issues arise. So the current system is essentially a house on one pillar. Let's talk about AWS. That pillar went down, the house collapsed, and everybody was kind of screwed, for lack of better terms. In blockchain, what we're presenting with our model is that same house, so that same service of cloud storage and compute, but instead of on one pillar, it's on 1,000 pillars. And those 1,000 pillars are a permissionless blockchain environment, decentralized, where anyone can contribute. So we've created a blockchain that's open to the public, that anyone can help contribute these services, which creates a more robust backend, globally distributed network that is not just going to go out overnight. So enterprises that can integrate into our cloud storage and compute solutions would essentially have that comfort knowing if one pillar goes out, there's 999 in its place to keep the house up and running. So you almost would not feel the effects of it. That is the beauty of decentralization. Now, it's a lot easier said than done, because migrating from the big players to a more decentralized environment has plenty of obstacles, right? But that's why we built the Web2 side of it with Nuvola Drive and many other features to come with that, so that it feels and has that familiarity, which Ivan, you said before about simplicity. You guys already know how to use Nuvola Drive, every single one in this room, and you've never even seen the app. It's literally that familiar and that simple, and it provides you all the beauty of blockchain. And the second question, how would we integrate?
How are you integrating with the legacy systems, with the Web2?
Yeah, so it also goes back to that initial statement I made about the simplicity and then the financial incentive. Right now, cloud storage to everybody on the face of the planet outside of the providers is an expense. And no matter what, to run your phones and your computers, you need it. It's literally air for your devices. And our model with the beauty of blockchain and decentralized cloud storage allows us to take an expense and turn it into an income stream. What do I mean by that? Any enterprise can essentially establish a node infrastructure globally that they provide internally to their own organization or globally to their customers, and they can monetize the revenues as they flow in from a paid service. This happens from our front end, and it's all powered by the back end. And it takes essentially the Google or the AWS model where money enters in and circulates within 4 walls and stays there. They control the expansion of the network, they control the direction. It takes that model and flips it upside down, because now money flows in from the users, and it's being transferred over to the people that are providing the network to be sustained globally as a service. So a company that has, let's say, 10 to 20 million users can start to provide this service as a benefit to another service they already provide, and establish a node infrastructure on the back end and monetize it in totality. So somebody that is essentially spending millions a year on cloud storage services can now turn that into an income stream to them. So not only are you saving, because the service is more cheap, not more cheap, it's more efficient because of the back end. There's no hardware that you need to maintain. It's just essentially pushed out to the public for them to absorb that. And they're also incentivized as well. So the simplicity of the service is there from the product we provide on the front end. And then the beauty of the decentralization and the blockchain is there as well. And it all gets wrapped into this financial benefit of you need this service anyway to survive and live out your day-to-day. But now you get to monetize it just like the big players do. So it's not, I wouldn't call it, the big bang, like revolutionary kind of element to it. It's just reshuffling a model that's worked for 5 players and making it a globally distributed economic model. And I recently did a case study. I'm from Italy. I live in Italy. Per annum, Italy spends about $120 billion on cloud storage services. As a nation, if you really think about it, and this is very forward thinking, as a nation, they could establish through our network, through the blockchain itself, a node infrastructure internally for their citizens. And instead of outpaying or having that as an expense to a foreign entity, 115 billion to wherever it's going, it's now recirculating inside the economy. And this goes on many layers below blockchain or outside of blockchain, where now taxes could be drafted differently. You could give different benefits to your citizens. Like, we could get extremely creative with how this model frees up a ton of capital, right? The friction point is that the big players are the big players. They are so embedded in everyone's lives that it's like, how do you remove that element? But between the simplicity and the ease of use of our product, with our blockchain robust in the background, plus the financial incentives, it starts to make that conversation more of a, this actually does make sense. So that's essentially how we're approaching it.
We have 1 more minute, and maybe I'm going to ask you either a call to action that you guys have for the leaders in the room, or a word of advice that you would give them if they want to embark in their blockchain journey, utilizing Cardano, though.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, we're living in the reality today that we were dreaming about 10 years ago. And the next generation coming after this, which is Gen Alpha, they're going to want the reality that you're all dreaming about right now. And that will be agentic, that will be open banking, that will be interoperability, that'll be Web 3.0. And these are the kind of key things that you're doing that are shaping the next generation. They're expecting it from you, so just keep doing it.
Cool. Any last word of wisdom from you guys?
I would just say, going back to the beginning, simplify, educate, and exemplify, and that will open a lot of doors. So that would be my suggestion.
All right. I'm living in Switzerland, and we are out of time. So thank you, guys, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.